Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Utility Sports. And as you can see by the title and thumbnail of this one, we're going to be talking about Jae Crowder, someone who's been really pivotal for the last 3 seasons of the NBA. When you look back at his run with the Miami Heat, when they went to the NBA Finals in the bubble, his role in Phoenix the past 2 years, where they made an NBA Finals appearance and also got to the second round of the playoffs before losing in a Game 7 to the Dallas Mavericks. Jae Crowder is a really valuable player in today's league. He offers a lot of really good length and size at about 6'7", 6'8", and he plays bigger than he even is. A lot of times plays as, that kind of true four in today's modern NBA. He's going to knock down some three-point shots, albeit somewhat inconsistent from night to night, but he still is somewhat of a threat out there. You don't want to just give him wide open looks every single time down the floor. He's someone you have to close out on. And I think defensively, that's really where you're getting the bulk of the production from. He plays really physically. Again, like I said, plays bigger than he is. And there's a lot of value to adding a player like Jae Crowder. He's a smart positional defender. He's going to be in the right spot at the right time. And he's really versatile with who you want him guarding. You could probably live with him on ball every once in a while, although not as much as you used to be able to back when he was in Boston, a little bit quicker. He's kind of lost a step on that end of the floor, but he's still a valuable, important player in today's league. And I think it's really pivotal that the Suns are going to look to move on from him, which I think is pretty surprising. Obviously, they do have Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, and that's probably the motivation here to move off of Jae Crowder. They just don't look at him as a starting forward for them anymore, and understandably so. But at the same time, he is one of their top 6 or 7 players on this roster, a team that's been really good the last 2 years, and I think losing him is going to be a really big loss. He's on a team-friendly deal, 1 year left on that contract, $10 million, very affordable in the marketplace today for what he brings, and losing him is going to be tough for this year. That's why I thought, hey, maybe they just let this play out, plays his final season in Phoenix and leaves in free agency. Doesn't look like either side wants to go through that. As you can see, Shams Charania reporting the Phoenix Suns and Jae Crowder have mutually agreed that the veteran forward will not participate in training camp as the sides work on a trade. So it looks like Jae Crowder is going to have some impact here. And there's no surprise that some of the teams linked to Jae Crowder have been places he's already played. Dallas, Boston, Miami, Memphis. Those 4 teams are in on him for sure, although I don't think all of those teams have a real good pathway to landing Jae Crowder. But then there's some other teams in here, 2 extra teams that I have mocked a trade for that I think could make some sense to bring in Jae Crowder. And one of them is going to be really surprising. You're going to have to hear me out when we get to that one. That's going to be the 5th trade we talk about today. And then the 6th one as well, I think is a little interesting. Maybe the fans of that team won't love it, but I think it's a definite win now move for them. So going into our first trade, we're going to focus on the Memphis Grizzlies because I think realistically, they're the team that could maybe get this done the easiest. They have Danny Green, who they brought in the trade with the Philadelphia 76ers, and his money essentially matches perfectly with Jae Crowder's. Now, I don't think Phoenix is just going to simply do this to match money and get off of a contract. I think they're going to want to bring in something of value to them. So here, 2023 second round pick via the Minnesota Timberwolves. You would think that pick's going to be in the 40s or 50s. Not that valuable of an asset, but still an asset. And you also get Xavier Tillman. And I know Grizzlies fans are going to say, whoa, we don't want to give up Tillman. I understand that, but Jae Crowder kind of fills that same role for you, playing that 4-man position. But I think he's more of a natural fit next to Brandon Clark, which is what this Grizzlies team is really looking to do. That's why they let Kyle Anderson go. I think they're looking for just a little bit more shooting at that 3 or 4 position. And I could see Jae Crowder playing that 3.5, where he plays a little bit of both small forward and power forward this year. And Xavier Tillman just doesn't really give you that. And for Phoenix perspective here, you get a young player who's on a cheap team-friendly deal right now and a second-round pick with an expiring contract in Danny Green that does not hurt you long term. Again, this is not what you would call a blockbuster trade by any means, but I do think this is a really good opportunity for Memphis to take advantage here of Phoenix moving off of Jae Crowder. To be candid, I don't think that Phoenix should move off of Jae Crowder. I really don't. I don't like this trade for them that much because I think Jae Crowder is more valuable than the assets they're getting, but I don't think his trade value is going to be as high as it maybe should be for the type of value you're going to get from him on the floor, being a reliable guy in your rotation. I just think Phoenix moving off of him is a little bit of a head scratcher to me. I kind of foresaw this coming. I've been talking about Jae Crowder as a potential trade candidate for the last 3, 4, 5 months now. But now at this point, kind of becomes a little bit more solidified than I even thought. This early into the season, I thought, if they're going to do it, maybe they're going to try and match money somewhere, make a bigger move, include Dario Saric. But at this point, it just seems like Jae Crowder might be going out the door by himself. Here we have a 3-team deal with the Dallas Mavericks, and I don't think this trade's going to get done. I really don't. This is a trade that kind of shows the complexity here of working one out. If they were trying to work out a trade with Dallas, you'd need to get a third team involved. The one that makes the most sense would be Utah at this point, because Utah's in asset acquisition mode. But the issue with Dallas here, they don't have any good expiring contracts besides Dwight Powell, who I think Dallas would not want to give up Dwight Powell in a trade. Although I think it would probably be smart for them to. I don't think that they would do that. So I did not include Dwight Powell in this trade. So instead, I have them moving off of Davis Bertans. And as you can see, it takes them 3 second-round picks to do so. The Suns get Malik Beasley, who gives them a movement shooter who can run off of screens and just likes to shoot the ball a lot. There's a reason he got the nickname Malik Threesley. He predominantly shoots three-pointers. I believe about 75% of his attempts come from behind the three-point line. Doesn't really give you much else, but for the Suns, a bench piece who could score for them in bunches playing off of Chris Paul, that could make some sense. They also get Frank Ntilikina. Here's a little throw-in for money purposes. The Mavs get Rudy Gay, who I think his career is essentially over at this point, so it's a little bit of a dump from Utah. Jae Crowder, he's really the big piece here for Dallas. I think he would really fit this team coming off of the bench. They really need another wing defender. Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock are both really good, but when it came to the playoffs, you saw some of the issues they were having with those two guys having to play 40-plus minutes a night. Adding Jae Crowder, you're able to save 4, 5, 6 minutes of both of those guys a night, which throughout the course of a long playoff run like we saw last year from Dallas, that can go a long way in being competitive in, say, the Western Conference Finals or not. And for Utah here, they get Davis Bertans' contract. Again, Utah's in a position where if they want to play this game and take in some money, they could. They also get the expiring of Torrey Craig, probably could reroute that at the deadline for a second-round pick. They get Josh Green, who's a young player out of Arizona. Really good dribble handoff guy. His shooting just has not translated at all to the NBA, but he's rather athletic. He's a good offensive rebound wing. Not that that gives you a lot of value, but he's something that maybe they could work with. Ja'Cory McLaughlin, just to make the money work here, not really worried about that. And then a second-round pick in 2029. So again, just a small asset to add in there. Again, I don't think this deal would get done. There's too many moving pieces here, too many players and picks having to swap hands. This is when it gets too complicated for sides to really work something out. But if the Mavericks were to make a deal for Jae Crowder, I think it would have to look something like this, simply because their assets, they don't have a lot of good mid-level contracts at, like, you know, that $4 or $5 million mark that they would want to trade. You know, they've got some good players that they like having and that they wouldn't be willing to give up for Jae Crowder, I feel. So now as we move into our next trade, and it's one that I don't even have a trade for. This one is with the Boston Celtics, and similar to Dallas, but I think even a little bit more difficult. Let's go through Boston's roster here, and you'll see from a money perspective why this isn't going to work. They need to include at least $7.7 million to get to the 125% rule. Or actually, $8 million, excuse me, to get to the 125% rule. So it's going to be really tough for them to work themselves there. Look at Tatum, Brown. Those two guys are untouchable. Al Horford makes too much money, and he was too pivotal last year for Boston. They're not going to include him. Malcolm Brogdon, they just brought in for a first-rounder. There's no way they're moving him. Marcus Smart, Defensive Player of the Year, not on the table. Derek White, just traded a first-rounder last year for him, not on the table. Robert Williams, no way would they move Robert Williams for Jae Crowder, which leaves Danilo Gallinari. He's recently signed, so there's a restriction. Can't trade him. I know he's injured, so he would become the guy maybe if this trade doesn't occur in the next couple weeks, that you could see maybe around Christmas time a deal like this start to materialize. But at this point, it's not happening. Grant Williams, no way they're going to trade Grant Williams. Peyton Pritchard, okay, maybe, but that's only $2.2 million. And then you have all these other guys who are recently signed. You have cap holds. There's nothing here to trade that's going to get you the money to $8 million to acquire Jae Crowder. It's just not possible. And some people might say, oh, they're trade exceptions. The most they can take in a single player is $6.9 million. So what they would have to do is they'd have to make a trade for a $6.9 million player and then probably tie that player to Peyton Pritchard in another deal. And that's just going to be very difficult to do. I don't really think that there's any actual outcome that works out. So I don't think Boston has the pieces to get a deal done. I think they had the draft compensation. They could have thrown some of these second rounders out the door, but ultimately I don't think that their financial situation allows them to make this deal, which is one thing I really wanted to talk about in this video. Let's move into the team that I think has a really good chance of getting him, and that's the Miami Heat. They should be really incentivized to make this move. They lost PJ Tucker, and there's no better PJ Tucker replacement than Jae Crowder in the league. Jae Crowder does about 80% of what PJ Tucker does defensively, maybe a little bit less, maybe about 75%. but offensively, he's just about as reliable. Doesn't shoot as well from the corner, but he does shoot above the break a bit more. And I think he's just a little bit more reliable all from a bunch of places on the floor rather than just the corner. Of course, PJ Tucker, one of the better corner shooters in the league. And for Miami here, you do give up a first-round pick this year, which seems like a steep price for Jae Crowder. But part of that is you're getting off of Duncan Robinson's contract. And for Phoenix, Suns fans might be saying, well, why would we want Duncan Robinson? Well, right now, there's no reason to worry about the luxury tax because your owner is looking to sell the team. And when new ownership comes in, they're usually all gung-ho about spending money. So you bring in Duncan Robinson. I think he's actually naturally a pretty good fit with this Suns team. I think that he could be a really nice ancillary guard piece next to Devin Booker and Chris Paul to come off the bench. And yes, it's a lot of money for a 6th or 7th guy, but he's a really good marksman from deep. Now, I know he didn't shoot the best this past year, but it's 1 year of his career. We've seen for the most part that he is a very reliable movement shooter who can run off the flares, pin downs, whatever. Really good hammer shooter as well if you use him in a hammer set. Duncan Robinson can be valuable. I think he's also a really good handoff player when he's working with big. So maybe there's some offense there to be had between him, DeAndre Ayton, him, Bismack Biyombo. I think that Duncan Robinson could be a nice pickup for this team. And if you are looking to extend your window, getting a younger player in here in Duncan Robinson and a first rounder to take in his salary seems like a really good move for Phoenix. Gives them another piece to play with. And for Miami, you're getting 2 players that could be rotation guys for you. Now, I don't think that this is the most pressing thing for them. I know that they do like Martin as well a lot there. But at the end of the day, Jae Crowder, I think, is just more of a win now player. It can help you fill that starting lineup spot that you're losing from PJ Tucker departing in free agency. Now, our next trade, this is the blockbuster one that I don't think people would expect to see. But I have the Phoenix Suns acquiring Lonzo Ball for Jae Crowder, Torrey Craig, Jock Landale, and 2 second-round picks, 1 in 2023, which is the next draft, and 1 in 2024. And now I know people are going to be saying, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. A point guard here in Lonzo Ball getting traded to Phoenix. What's really the deal with this? Well, this is an opportunity here for Phoenix to land a guy who was a former top 2 overall pick and someone who, quite frankly, his career hasn't played out the way a lot of people expected, and he's been dealing with a ton of injuries, which is why Chicago, who's at a weird spot in their organization right now. They have some young players, some old players. Are they trying to win in this East? Are they going to try and go with the younger route? Or are they just going to stay put? I could see them staying put, but this is one just based on the amount of money left on Lonzo's contract. Again, I think that this could be a really good opportunity for Phoenix to get a good young player in who, yes, he has dealt with a ton of injuries, but you have him in a different role here. He's going to have to play a little bit less. And I think he could be a really nice pickup for this Suns team, especially if it only costs you Crowder, Craig, Landale, and 2 second-rounders. I really like this deal for Phoenix. And for Chicago, I know a lot of Bulls fans are going to say, we would never do that. Well, here's an article from Bleacher Report talking about Lonzo Ball. And Lonzo Ball has said this is something I've never dealt with. Even the doctors are surprised a little bit, talking about his ankle and knee injuries. And he still can't run or jump. Remember, he has not played basketball in about 9 or 10 months. And at this point, just today, this article came out saying that he cannot run or jump. It's actually yesterday, the day that this video is posting. I'm posting 1 day in advance. But Lonzo still not able to run or jump and has pain climbing stairs. Like, again, this is not like a, oh my gosh, no brainer, the Suns win this trade. If Lonzo is never the same guy and doesn't play really like ever 40 games a year, they lose this trade probably. But with the upside that Lonzo could have for them coming off the bench, I think it would be a really massive upgrade if he does stay healthy, which is why I could see Chicago wanting to get off the money here, and why I could see Phoenix maybe essentially willing to take this risk using some, expiring contracts that they don't plan on being a big part of their team and some second rounders. You don't get a player like Lonzo Ball very often. And if you're able to get him at a low price point because of where he's currently at with his rehab and injury, it would make some sense. Now, what you would need is you would need to waive a physical and just say, hey, we know he's injured. Kind of what what happened with Isaiah Thomas a few years ago when he got traded from Boston to Cleveland. You would need something similar to that to occur. And now our final trade. This is one with Cleveland. And I don't think Cavs fans are going to like this one too much, but I have them trading Cedi Osman, who's 27, and Dylan Windler, who's younger, and a 2023 second rounder for Jae Crowder. And Cavs fans are going to say, whoa, why would we do this? Cedi's younger by about 5 years, and he's almost as good as Jae Crowder. And the key word there is almost. This is why Cleveland should look into doing this. he's almost as good as Jae Crowder. He's not as good. Small forward is such a big need for Cleveland, especially with their two guards that they have in Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell. They need to find a way to upgrade a small forward, even if it's a narrow upgrade. And I think this is a narrow upgrade. Jae Crowder, just a little bit more reliable than Cedi Osman in a lot of different ways, especially defensively. And this is the opportunity here for Jae Crowder to, really be that defensive piece that I think he can be still in the NBA. Cleveland, you're going to need some perimeter defense. I love Evan Mobley. I love Jarrett Allen. I think those two guys are great backline defenders. I think Evan Mobley is one of the most versatile defenders in the league. He's probably the best perimeter defender on the team right now. Evan Mobley is, and he's a 7-footer. That's insane, which is why you need to make a deal here for Jae Crowder. Get another perimeter defender in the room, someone who is smart, has won a ton, and if you want to take a jump, this slight upgrade could go a long way. Think about back when the Raptors with Kawhi Leonard traded Jonas Valanciunas for Marc Gasol, someone who is much older and not much better at the time. That upgrade was immense for them in winning an NBA title. Had they not made that trade, they probably don't win it. I think that the Cavaliers, although not necessarily a guarantee to win a title, I think Jae Crowder over Cedi Osman is enough of an upgrade to help move the needle quite a bit, especially come playoff time. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and also subscribe to the channel for more. A lot of work went into planning these trades and really looking at where Jae Crowder would fit best. Let me know in the comment section what you think about these trade packages and also where you think Jae Crowder is ultimately going to land. Thanks guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the very next Utility Sports video.